Tropish and kind of trite, but it's the truth. I really do enjoy playing with you guys. I do enjoy our sessions, and I look forward to Wednesday without fail. So, officially, this is Soup City Sins, Season 7, Episode 5, Words Retain Much. When we last left our coterie of protagonists, they had survived, and won the engagement with Mr. McTavish, who had trailed and followed Detective Walter to their temporary hidey hole. And while distracted with Walter and doing his perp walk to the van, Lucio spotted McTavish keeping an eye on what the coterie was potentially doing inside. It was clear that he was ramping up or beginning to stage something. Lucio interceded, and in the ensuing fracas, Lucio and Alex were nearly shuffled off the mortal coil as Dizzy, revealing a magnetically powerful aspect of their presence, drove everyone to stillness. McTavish making his way away, having shifted into the form of a overly large and overly vicious boar, tusk glinting and gleaming with blood as he ran into the night. In the aftermath of suffering through catching McTavish by surprise, as he was clearly staging a surprise, the coterie headed back to the Haven. Their secret task for the prince completed, Dizzy needing a moment escaping the bounds of the shelter's haven and finding sustenance along the way. Lucio coming to grips with the very real fact that in single combat, there is something and someone who managed to move him closer to a permanent death. Alex reeling much the same, having their mending of flesh sped along by Hestia's careful and talented touch, while Hestia made a way to reach out to the powers that be. Her first call to Damien, informing him of the potential trap of having someone as dangerous as McTavish in the city, with clear aims on those in power. And so we pick up with Dizzy and her gaggle of lugubriously celebrational men from the Dalton South Suburb area, led by a Mr. Brisley, who was formerly their team captain. They arrive at the shelter. Now, when bringing them to the shelter, do you bother to take them through the secret door in the office? Do you take them through the morgue? And when doing so, where in the haven do you take them?
Should probably bring them in the back, still under the guise that this is some kind of secret underground club. So they probably won't be like, "Hey, this doesn't seem right." So,
okay. And where in the actual haven were you thinking of having them alight? Do you want them stopped in the morgue, which has just finally been finished being cleaned of all of the bodies that you all were disposing of, while the others are carefully ensconced in the drawers? It is still a morgue. There is the library area. There is your meeting room. There is, if push came to shove, your personal space in the upper floors of the haven as well. Where would you like them to alight?
I will probably leave them in the morgue under the guise of I'm going to go round up some substances and make sure it's cool that I'm bringing all these extra dudes with me.
You get a few rounds of surprise cheer. Like, this is an adventure for them. They got a night out away from the wife, the kids, the boyfriends, the girlfriends, and are reliving their glory days from high school and junior college, and before the weight of bills and life and jobs that they would rather not have settled in upon them. this is not quite a hall pass, but it's very, very close for them. They're all a little excited. Save Mr. Brisley. He's a little more, by far, the most sober of them all, but he's in for a penny, in for a pound, and he has not let these guys wrong yet, so he's willing to shoulder the burden and responsibility and be part of the carousing. This is an adventure. This is Chicago. Oh my God. Remember when we came up here and we went to the Hancock building? Oh yeah, that was the time we went by Jim's. They got those fucking onion dogs, dude. Oh my God. We didn't even get dogs. We got Polishes. And this goes on back and forth as they call out and correct each other's memory of several events that happened years upon years ago. Again, before adulthood settled in. So when you make your way away, Vivi falls into a more protective, security-minded focus. She is pretty good at seeming like she's nonchalant, but the truth of the matter is you've been with her and around her long enough to realize that what she's actually doing is bodily blocking the exit back into the tunnel that you've all entered. While the door is closed, if they make it into the tunnels, it makes things considerably more difficult. So she is lounging and surfing on her phone and high-fiving, but yet managing to stay bodily between them and the exit out.
As soon as I break away from them, I am going to pull out my phone and text the group, but I'm basically trying to figure out where Hestia is since she is not damaged.
Well, that's a little easier because, well, Hestia, while you are wrapping up your conversation with Damien, and his immediate response is, for fuck's sake, first Lucio and now you. Oh my God. Okay, I'll spread the word and we'll get some eyes out. I'll get G working on things as well. And then the texts from Dizzy start to pour in.
Wait, first Lucio what?
No, he'll tell you, I'm sure. We'll talk about it later.
Okay. You say so. Alright, well, since you gotta go sort that out, I have some own things I gotta sort out here, so let me know what's going on or what the plan is.
I most assuredly will.
Alright.
Okay.
Does he hang up? Because I don't want to hear.
And as you end the call with Damien, taking a quick look at Dizzy's text, what is it that you are up to?
Oh, great. I'm trying to think to myself. Oh, yeah, I can cloud memory, whatever. It doesn't matter. So, I text back, in the clean room, be out in a sec. And then I literally put my phone away and come out and head towards the morgue.
Okay, well, the morgue is just literally downstairs from sub-basement A where the clean room is. You can already hear the voices, the very male, very inebriated voices of, oh my God, yeah, dude, do you remember when there used to be that fucking game room at the water tower? It wasn't a game room, it was a game store, asshole. It wasn't a game store because we picked up we picked up the fucking game, AD&D, dude. No, that was the time we picked up Ninjas and Super Spies. What? We didn't even play Ninjas and Super Spies. Yeah, I didn't forget. I paid $20 for that book and you guys didn't even fucking play. And so, back and forth.
Just out of curiosity, on my way down, I don't know what, because Hestia doesn't drink, really. Would she keep a bottle of something somewhere?
That's a good question. As part of her...
I mean, definitely not in the shelter.
Well, yeah, which means that if she kept it, she would have kept it at either one of her other havens for that small afterglow.
But you know what she does have here? Her greenhouse. I think she might make a stop.
Yeah.
In the greenhouse. And get some stuff. maybe slightly hallucinogenic.
Okay. Well, her lab and her suite of rooms are on the 3rd floor, which so I have to be on the 5th floor. Or is the greenhouse part of the lab?
The greenhouse is part of her lab. They wouldn't be separate.
Okay, so that's 4 flights there, ciphering around her lab, which she has not been in quite some time, at least not actively, more than making sure that the plants are properly fed, making sure that the lighting hasn't changed, making sure that the air in the space is properly humidified,
for maintenance,
and that they have the correct temperature. So she really hasn't had time to spend time in absorbing and being in and around her very living babies. Because she has not been here in a while, would you be so kind as to roll your resolve and academics? It is... You've done harder things. You've done more difficult things. You've stared down and faced down the impossible and managed to walk away with a story to tell. As you involve yourself moving through the mini plants, the mini drip lines, and the very real independent biosphere that you formed here with your plants in your lab, it is impossible to leave them. After all, the music that you played isn't quite the same as having a living, breathing playlist to float and work with the mood of you while they are here growing and producing and making a life for themselves. So as you involve yourself in your lab, it takes a supernally impossible effort to draw yourself away. And in doing so, it causes tears to well in your eyes. It's like leaving your family to be sent away to a mission abroad. You don't have a choice in the matter. You need to do these things, but yet you'd much rather be here to watch your babies grow, to celebrate their birthdays, to not deal with the guilt of missing so many anniversaries, of repotting, so many moments when they had the opportunity to sing and dance amongst themselves. It is literally like tearing yourself away, being conscripted into a war you don't want to fight to leave the lab. You managed to do so, but it springs forth all of the emotion of leaving your family, not knowing if and when you might return. And Dizzy, having received the text from Hestia and knowing that she's in the clean room, do you send the text to all of your coterie or just to Hess?
I was sent to the group, but addressed to Hess, basically. So.
Oh, okay. So with that weighing on your heart and on your mind, Hestia, it is no small thing as you make your way down the stairs towards the morgue. In the doing, a quick second, let me just double check one small thing here. Make sure that I have the correct map in my head. Yes. Your lab is on the same floor as your suite of rooms, as well as Lucio's suite of rooms. There's no doubt. There is no not beating the dead horse of the emotionality that overcomes you. You need some connective tissue, and you had no intentions because there are several flights of stairs to lead down into the morgue, to lead into lower floors, even mapped out as maze-like as possible. There is some situational user experience that makes it easy to get from floor to floor if you know what you're looking for, where to find the stairwell. One of the stairwells is past Lucio's room at the end of the floor, at least at the end of the livable spaces on the floor.
So I take it she kind of feels drawn to Lucio's space rather than to head right down the stairs.
Okay, sounds like a plan. As you find yourself just outside of Lucio's suite of rooms, and hearing the phone go off in the background, what is it that you're...
She knocks very quietly because obviously, you don't want to just walk in on somebody, even though she knows he's hurt. He's probably, okay with her coming into his space. It's still respectful to knock. And she kind of sticks her head in. So Dizzy's got some people downstairs, and I guess they're here to help with putting you back together. And while she's talking to him, she's just kind of like sleeves at her eyes, wiping tears away and kind of looking at the floor. Was on my way down there after talking to Damien, and I thought I'd stop to get something, and I got distracted, but yeah, I think we should go downstairs if you're okay with that.
Are you okay with that? Something seems to be eating at you more than usual, and not just the hunger this time.
I try my best to seem like I have it all together, because if anybody's gonna lead this band of fuck-ups, it's gonna have to be me, right? But I'm so tired. I just went to my lab, and my plants are doing so many things that I've missed, and they need potting, and there's a whole new species that propagated itself, and I have no time to even study it, and that's where my heart is.
And it's not like we get vacation days.
No, it's non-fucking stop. I understand where Dizzy's coming from, that it's non-fucking stop. I don't know how we drew this lot in life, except for to have a space that somebody else or so many somebody else's want. But I don't know what to do about that. I'm not going to give it up. These people need us. This city needs us. And it's weird because I'm not trying to play like hero or anything, but the lives I know I've affected directly by having this space are important to me. And I need to keep that. Otherwise, I'd lose myself and become I don't know what.
I hear you. I wish I had an easy answer to give you, but unfortunately, I don't think there is one. I think this is going to be something that we're all going to be trying to figure out for a while, but we'll do it together. It's a tough road ahead, but you don't have to walk it alone.
It's funny because I'm used to alone. I didn't have my sire for that long, and she left me to figure it out on my own. And then I met Simone, and I wasn't alone anymore, but still, in my own way, I guess I still was alone. And then you guys came along, and my whole life got turned upside down. But then I thought I wanted to go back to the Chantry, and I tried. But now I don't even know what that's going to be like, because I don't know who survived the war that they got into. I don't know if there are people hunting me now, because I took the anchor and freed the knight. I don't... This is so ridiculous. There's things we haven't even thought about in like forever that we should probably remember. But there's so much. Like the lodestone, we never went back and got it. You sure that's still there? Probably not. The fact that fucking Forcipulis has a body and he's walking around out there somewhere. Oh God. That is a scary thought. But what do we do about it? I don't even know, because we're now dealing with a fucking assassin.
Yeah, Chicago got a lot crazier in the last year, I've noticed.
legalization of pot is supposed to help people relax. It has not done so.
Unfortunately, we don't get to experience that benefit anymore.
Well, there's a way.
All right, we should probably go before Dizzy has our ass for making her way downstairs with those people she brought here.
Actually, before that happens, I might need some help with something. See, as it turns out, being disemboweled and left without any stomach muscles makes it really hard to get up off this table. I might need help getting up.
I swear I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing with you. And she helps him up.
As you all make your way up and your phones go off once more, the reality of where you are, the reality of what you've all dealt with in the last few months, in the last year, is unavoidable. In that time, you all have managed the impossible on so many occasions that the real danger of what you've managed has become irregular. It has become normal. It has become your constant standard state of being. And while you all have adjusted to it, the reality of the situation is this. Because of the magnitude of the insanity that you all have involved yourselves with, have been involved around you, and have pulled in your loved ones, somewhere along the way, what brought you all together, what kept you all together, what has been the inciting incident of everything has fallen by the wayside. There have been several moments in the course of time where the roles of the shelter's populace have swollen and receded and ebbed and flowed like the rivers themselves. Plus, the very transitory nature of those who reside in the shelter makes it a little difficult. However, noticing that the people have gone missing or have been otherwise taken is harder to notice, but for people such as yourselves who lived in and amongst them, it was something that was easy. There were signs and clues when someone merely decided to move on, to go north, to go south, to try to avoid the bad weather by going either south to Florida, towards Florida, or west towards the ocean. You notice when people were leaving under their own power versus mysteriously disappearing. That has gotten harder to do because of all the many things that have happened in and around the shelter. And while those diehard members who called the place home and decided to fight for it and were willing to stick through the bad times because after all, they couldn't get much worse, it has become a really difficult thing keeping tabs on them. You all notice this or think on this and have this firebrand of a light bulb thought pop in your head when you make it into the morgue. And there are 8 or 9 men who are partying it up, who are enjoying their hall pass, and you realize they are not as affected by the gloom and doom of partying in the morgue as they should be. And while you know that Dizzy can be absolutely magnetic in connecting with people and inspiring them to do things that they would much rather not, or things that they didn't think themselves capable of, has the world gone absolutely mad when good upstanding suburbanites and members of the standard average society can consider partying in a morgue a good thing?
I just stop and stare for a minute because this is like the most surreal ridiculousness I think I've seen in a little while, and just kind of glance at Dizzy and raise a brow and kind of shrug, like, are they, are they okay? But just to kind of keep the party going and keep, them distracted, I put out some of what I took from upstairs on little tables, and then I head to the office space. I know there's like an old, I want to say old radio, but it's not like as old as people would think, with as old as I am, but like boombox, like 90s boombox type radio, and I'll put some music on.
Okay. And while you're grabbing the boombox and setting up a impromptu DJ via radio situation, you realize that the boombox actually does have an actual CD player. Unfortunately, it's not the, modern non-skippable. Any noise, any bumping will definitely have it skip, but it is very much actively playable. Quick question. Being as Lucio hasn't bothered to take the opportunity to risk his beast in healing the damage that he received, where is his actual hunger?
Currently at 3. Yes, 3 hunger.
Yes. And he has not quite developed a taste for the great stuff, the good stuff, the vitae that flows through his veins when he wills it, and all of the other kindred who are available when they force the vitae to move. He is, however, scenting underneath those lovely, healthy, and active male skin the very real scent of sweat and alcohol and their emotions dripping from their pores like the sweat that's covering them as they sit and talk, and the alcohol has its way with several of them, some of them leaning a little far to the left, a little too far to the right, some of them not able to quite hold their heads completely level, and they're bobbing as they talk, and otherwise they're having a great time. The booze doesn't completely hit them and knock them on their ass, but it's literally only a moment of time. In that immediate appraisal of the situation that's going on, you hear tales of glory days from high school when Brisley knocked that homer that won the homecoming game, or when Edward stole second and pushed the game into overtime, and then go on. And it's clear that these individuals, these gentlemen were a team. They lived and worked together during their high school glory years and some of their junior college years, and they are as average in this moment as average could be. So average they don't realize exactly how much danger they are in. Would you be so kind as to roll 1/3 your humanity plus your composure to not display how hungry you are, as their normalcy, their banal lives that they are seeking to escape, triggers a portion of yourself you didn't realize was there. There's an enmity in you towards life. There is a disdain for them not appreciating their lives enough to be smart enough to not put themselves in a situation where the only recourse, if you were anyone else, would be the ending of all their things. This would be their last moments if you were any other kindred. Your mind immediately going to Cameron whispering in your ear, it is what they are here for. Do you want real freedom? Do you want real power that's embracing that darkness that's within you? To Simone, I will make a mess of them all. I will paint the walls with everything that is them and drink everything else. To Clyde, you don't negotiate with monster, and in this situation you are the monster, and these fools dare dance in front of you like walking stakes. You manage to hold on just enough, keep from pouncing and shattering this moment with the death of one of them, but you must feed. You feel that darkness welling up in you, and it's all that you can do to keep it from manifesting behind your eyes and turning the entire room into one unending vacuum of death. Those of you who are remotely empathic would immediately sense and see a shift in Lucio, his shoulders growing a little tighter, his hands clenching as he fights against power supernal within himself, as the hunger begins to manifest. There's no ravenous hissing or leaping forward monstrously, but there's definitely some energies at work.
Dizzy will bounce on over to Lucio in some state of undress and whisper in his ear, now there's more than enough there that no one has to get hurt. Just be careful and I will distract. But they're going to need to remember going to an underground club when this is over.
So here's the thing. I've never actually done this before.
Oh, sweetie, it's instincts. It'll take over. Just, be careful. Don't let the beast win.
Oh, that sounds easy enough. Lucio is going to do his best to try and identify the one who either looks like the leader of the group or looks like the most lively, active person in the group, like the center of attention person.
Oh, my dear Lucio. All right, so due to his very real, very active investigatory mind, Lucio is easily able to identify the team leader, the ringleader of this moment of excess that has brought them there. You hear everyone call him either Brisley or Mike, but he is on the ball as far as things are concerned, leading his team, leading his friends, his potential family by association into such a dangerous, deadly position. He is the person that everyone seeks to have a few moments with, a few bits of conversation. He is whom that the others poke at and pick at to get to his attention and get him involved in the conversation at hand, whether it's about Leanne or whether it's about Lillian Wendell or is it about their high school rivalry with Thornton, or is it about the homecoming? He is the one that they try to involve in every facet or as many facets as possible. You also notice his right-hand man who tries to gatekeep access by interjecting either with a quick bar or some slurred attempt at witticisms that causes the others to either try harder or to back away to their previous conversations.
While he's assessing, Dizzy will go dim the lights a little bit.
As Dizzy dims lights, where are they? Penalty 2. They have no idea. Mike looks towards the light, frowns and scrunches up like, yeah, they've already been that low. They were already dim. The music isn't that bad. It's not that great. I'd like a lot less John Cougar Mellencamp, but, it is what it is. After all, Paper Houses was definitely that bop. And as much as you hate to admit it, Lucio, Dizzy was absolutely 100% correct. It is second nature. Winnowing the leader away from the crowd, pulling him into a conversation about nothing important. And as the lights get dimmer, your beast chooses that moment to pounce. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your strength plus brawl, please?
And seeing Lucio make his move, Dizzy flings her hoodie off towards the group there and starts to dance to the old music and throws up her awe.
All right. What's your die pool? Because honestly, realistically, with their penalties from inebriation and them having gone alone, if you have more than 4, you've already completely outweighed whatever they could do by 1. And that's taking half.
For poor, it's like 12, so yeah.
Yeah, it is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Even taking half, you have provided them with the most magnificently attractive thing they have seen ever. They may not remember details about this night, but they will never forget. It was clear that if they survive this night, that they will be talking about it for the remainder of their lives. You can already see the scene as maybe Mike or his right-hand man or Eddie over there are laying on their deathbed regaling their great-grandchildren about the time they went into this secret club somewhere in Chicago. It was such a wild night. I remember how they got there, and then this angel descended out of the darkness, and I'd tell you details, but her eyes were like these magnificent, great, big, honey-colored brown, and her skin it looked like it was glowing. And yeah, it is definitely a tale that they will tell and retell, and it will grow grander and more vivid, and more details will sprout in the telling, even though in this moment, Hess, Diz, Lucio, you are absolutely sure that if you give them a moment of silence, all of them will pass out to some degree. And Hess, what's your current hunger?
I am perfectly fine at a 1, but the person I'm thinking about is Alex. So even though I'm not hungry enough to really maybe take any for myself, I would maybe try to figure out how to corner one and, kind of, ooh, come dance with me, kind of, bachata, dance with him a little bit. And while we're dancing, bleed him into a cup so I get some for Alex.
And do you have any presents? Otherwise, you'll rely on your total die pool for charisma and persuasion. What's your total die pool?
6 if I don't count, because I have vessels as a specialty.
So half is... Yep, unfortunately half is still far too much for them to possibly even compete against, to put up a fight against you. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. These gentlemen are as far gone, as far inebriated as you can be, and still be mildly cognizantly aware that you are not, in fact, a plant. That you are, in fact, not a bump on a log. That you are, in fact, not just a facsimile of human. That you are not some simulacrum of alive. It does not take as much work as you had expected. Yeah, baby, let's get kinky with it. I've never tried blood play. I've tried shit play and piss play. Don't tell anybody. I'm perfectly honest. I kind of don't mind the water sports, but it's just the cleanup afterwards. So, this is kind of cool. Yeah. And don't worry, I'm clean. I only had the one bout of don't tell. I told everybody it was a cold sore, but the truth of the matter is, unfortunately, it was herpes. But you know what? I found out that all of us have herpes simplex if you've had chickenpox. You had chickenpox before, right?
I just smile and nod and wink at him and giggle like he's the most intelligent thing in the entire world.
And Des, of course, you've taken care of yourself along the course of things, but where are you, honestly, hunger-wise right now? With all of this blood, the scent of a nice irony, coppery scent in the air.
She's only at 2, so this was about feeding the damaged members of her coterie. If there's something left over, she might have a sip, but other than that, she's good.
All right, sounds like a plan. Now, with all things being equal, while nature does take over when Lucio begins to feed, it's never... Just like learning to drive, the gas pedal is a lot easier than the brake. Would you be so kind as to roll resolve plus composure, and your difficulty is 3. Oh, I see you are a man of focus, Lucio. And while nature does take over and that darkness in you at their willingness to waste their lives, to risk their lives, to be so stupid as to follow some stranger into some dark place, you manage to bottle that demon back up in time to see his eyes begin to flutter. The pleasure of the feeding on someone else is not something that Lucio has had the opportunity to watch. And something about the near sexual release he has in that moment causes you to pause, because that was not your intention. Your intention was to punish him by natural consequence. Your intention was to get what you need from him and punish him as a bonus. For him receiving such a pleasurable moment for being stupid causes you to ease back on the throttle enough to not drink him down. And it causes you to back away from the precipice that you're dangling over just in time. Your hunger is 1. You have not bothered to risk any hunger mending, but you know that in their present states, there's no way you can't take your fill from several of them and be where you need to be, whole and present in your beast, while well within its quart genie bottle is still its tinny voice echoing in the distance of your darkness. And yeah, you always use more. Who cares if they enjoy it?
Having experienced it once and considering the pressing need, Lucio is going to attempt to mend. I think I need a refresher on how healing aggravated damage works, because it's been a while.
Typically, you can heal 1 rank of aggravated per sunset. You roll 3 times, and any success will mean that you will, in fact, heal. Otherwise, the blood is still spent. If you attempt to do more, you have to get successfully on your rouse rolls. But otherwise, 1 per night, and you successes. It just determines how hungry you get. So how many levels would you like to mend or attempt to mend? And it's 3 rouse rolls per each level, with the first rouse per night being an automatic, whether you're successful or not, and each rouse after that, depending on your successes.
So I have 4 levels of aggravated damage. You know what? I'm not going to have another chance like this. Let's try and heal all of them.
Well, now. All right. So, let's do each rouse roll separately. Otherwise, I just tell you to roll 12d. But let's do each rouse roll separately. Roll 3 rounds. All right, you have 3 aggravated.
Hunger goes up by 1.
Yes.
But that one failed.
No, you had 2 successes. Go right ahead. You are at... Your hunger goes up to 2, and you are now 2 less aggravated damage. Oh, you are at 3 hunger and 2 aggravated.
That'd be 4 hunger, right? Because that's 2 failed rouse checks, right?
Yes, sorry. Yes. I thought it was I didn't look properly.
So 4 hunger and how many aggravated?
2.
2, okay. How many rouse checks have I done? I need 1. I need to roll 3 more, right?
Yes. Oh.
Oh boy. Here it comes.
All right, being the more experienced kindred, being the most aware and cognizant members of the coterie at this moment, as the heavy breathing of the makeout sessions are happening, as the conversations on baseball and the watching the dance happen, with being the center of attention, having everyone focused on you, Diz, all of the other members gathered around focused, and one actually trying to make it rain with his debit cards. He has, strangely enough, 6 or 7 of them. You noticed immediately the dim light grow dimmer. Lucio's shadow seems to separate itself from the darkness around him and begin moving of its own volition as he takes on the very real semblance of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The dark light that has danced across his face grows darker. The pockets of skin and shadow beneath his eyes and his eyes themselves grow darker. His fingers contort and twist into claw shapes. He's managed to push free his victim, but he's stalking the man who is locked eyes with you and swaying, lost in the moment of having given himself over to the pleasure that has rocketed through him.
Is he in frenzy or is he about to frenzy?
You have 1 action before he completely loses it. There's blood in the air, and it is clear that he is in need. His very corpse-like demeanor has hit him tenfold.
I move to him, biting my lip open as I move, and looks like I'm making out with him, but I'm giving him some of my blood so he doesn't lose it and kill all these guys, and then I've got all that on my hands.
As you're watching this happen, as you bleed your particular victim dry for Alex, what are you doing? Dizzy brings herself and all of the eyes towards Lucia.
I'm pretty sure I know what the heck's going on, so being aware as I am, I've gotten enough, I feel like, for Alex. I'm not bleeding him to death. I'm only taking like 2 from the guy that I was working on, and I'll kind of spin him away so that I can put the glass down on the table where it's safe, and then start kind of corralling them away from Lucio, so that basically me and Dizzy are between them and Lucio, just in case.
All right, so that being the case, Diz, I need you to roll a rouse roll for me for the point of vitae that you're slipping to Lucio, and a charisma and either performance or persuasion to performance, persuasion, or subterfuge, whichever is higher for you, to distract and disguise what it is you're actually doing. In the midst of that, Hestia, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your charisma and persuasion, or charisma and that's pretty straightforward, unfortunately. And leadership, either.
I'm also going to throw a mesmerize in there, just to keep them looking at me.
All right. Well, in that case, in charisma and persuasion, and add your dominate for me, please.
Is my all applicable to this role or no?
Yes. Your presence definitely is. Oh, all right. Well.
God damn.
Yes, indeed. Oh my goodness, that's 20 versus a grand total of where they presently are in need rate. It's a grand total 20 versus 12, including if they were 100% on the ball right now, and they are not. You all didn't mean to do so, but the double bombardment of Dizzy's aura and Hestia's strength of will literally snaps them out. And I don't mean like they just won't remember or understand what happened. In this moment, they are weaving the grandest of grand tales in their head that they will remember. They watched it and Angel do a striptease. They watched as the security, her friends, kept them from getting close enough to touch. However, this has literally been the best moment and best night of their lives. Lucio doesn't exist in this moment. The dark potential of death and the shadows clearly moving of their own volition was part of the light show at this club they went to. None of them are cognizant of what's going on. They see and they hear and they are responding, but literally someone flicked the switch between conscious and subconscious thought. They are prime victims for anyone who wants them. And Lucio, would you be so kind as to roll your unspent willpower, or spend your choice?
Do I have to include hunger for this roll, or no?
No. There are people who are designed to die. They were put here into the simulation that we all call life for one purpose and one purpose only: to be the tally marks on someone's gun, be notches in someone's belt, or to otherwise be the permanent background NPCs in a most violent kids game. And that's what they are right now. They are fish, they are guppies, they are single-minded, single-second memoried individuals. This is as close to a humane death as you could possibly provide. And then Dizzy kisses you. That's the best way to describe it, because that's not exactly what happened. There is a transfer of vitae, and it snaps you out of that shark-like fixation with the potentiality of draining them of everything that they will ever be. You are currently at 4 hunger, and you have your mind back, even though the beast is literally a hair's breadth from stepping into your shoes and moving through you. And the second time that you've had kindred vitae ease down your gullet, it is no less pleasurable. In fact, while it is not as affecting on the nose, while it doesn't cause you to float in the air as if you're a cartoon character who sniffed and inhaled a pie, it is as close to pleasure for pleasure's sake that you have been since the moment you died.
I think that at 4 hunger, Lucio is definitely going to still need some more blood.
Oh, you definitely are. And while this is not as good as a steak cooked on a hibachi in front of you, cooked to order, what Dizzy is providing you is definitely something that price-wise, you can easily charge 3, maybe 4 times the standard rate as it coats your tongue.
Realizing he is not going to lose it now, Dizzy will pull away and lick her wound shut and whisper in his ear, "I'm sorry for that, but I had to. So go slow. There's more."
Right. Sorry. I'll be more careful next time.
We're kind of all aware of what's going on except for them. I am going to grab the glass that I had set aside for Alex, which has the 2 worth 2 in it, and kind of move, again, keeping up appearances because I know it took, but I don't want to break character. And I bring it over to him and give it to him and tell him I'll just get Alex more. You need this. And hand the glass over.
Thanks. And I start drinking it.
I will lean over also and whisper to Hess to make sure that exchange doesn't happen between us again, because I don't want to enslave him, basically.
Chuckling softly. He said, "Trust me, next time I'll take one for the team."
That next time may be sooner than expected. Because Lucio, where would during the last few days of his living, breathing days, when the day piled up as they typically did toward the end there, when the clues drove down one-way streets in the opposite direction of where you needed them to be, when details of these people's lives evaded being found as if someone was actively working against you, when you did that most human of thing and decided to take a temporary vacation either in a beer bottle or in a liquor bottle, which would he reach for?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
What would he reach for? Would he reach for a beer, or would he reach for the harder stuff and take a shot or 2?
I imagine he's more of like a hard liquor kind of person.
Ooh, very nice. And is he a good old-fashioned national drink bourbon guy, or is he tequila guy, vodka guy, or rum guy?
I think vodka.
Well, now, that is interesting. All right, even or odd?
Oh, I don't like these. Odd.
As he inhales, he realizes that whoever this particular blood was a fan of Belvedere. He can taste the potato in the vodka that they consume to the point of being legally poisoned. And as he consumes this blood that has been steeped and soaked and awash with more vodka than any person should have in a simulation or in a single sitting, it takes him back to making it back to his apartment after a very long day pounding the pavements both physically and electronically. And as he pulled out his right-handed bottom drawer and opened the bottle there, pouring a shot that it was clearly not a shot, but in fact was 2 fingers worth, he is taken back to that moment. The setting sun in the distance making his room, his office, awash in that tangerine orange glow, and letting the burn from the vodka wash down his throat. He is back there instantaneously as this blood is as close to being able to take a shot as he has ever been. And it is strangely glorious. He can even feel the minute effect of it for the first time in over.
Where do I find this person?
Testy is very, very careful to keep her eyes locked on him and not look at the person that she got the blood from. Because we are not going to do this tonight. She looks up at him and tisks. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling parched, like I need more of this. Specifically this.
Peek over at Dizzy. Because I think she would know which ones drink what, hopefully, so that we can pick another vodka drinker without picking the one that I just had, because I don't want him to die.
A little death never hurt anybody. Ask Lucio. He's perfectly fine. He's died recently.
Does anyone fit that bill?
Oh yeah, out of the 8 of them, roughly half of them were drinking vodka, so half of them were drinking whiskey. And if you put them all together again, half of the total were drinking both.
So I will shrug with a smile and point at one of them that does not apply and kind of give him the come hither fingers.
And how do you call your lover boy? Babe. And literally reenacting that scene where Jennifer Grey crawled towards Patrick Swayze. He weebles and wobbles and comes as if beckoned by the Almighty himself. His slurred reaction, you're sure, is some soliloquy equal to or better than Shakespeare, though in this moment it sounded
Then I look over at Lucio and nod at the others and just dance with this dude.
I hand the cup or glass, whatever it is, back to Hestia, and I'm making a beeline for that guy.
It is a tumbler from Witch. And as you follow through on the very real drives, a very real bit of nostalgia that sits in your mind and right there on the edge of your tongue, you realize that as you move, you too have been minorly affected by the alcohol that's coursing through their veins. And it is, there's no other way to describe it. You have not had any altering of the horrible reality that you have lived in since your death, except for in this brief respite from all of that. There's the hint of a buzz washes over you, and that hint is more than enough. It is a welcome home, being able to sit at your desk in your apartment on the southeast side of Chicago and go over how bad the day was and enjoy the fact that you are able to forget about it for a few hours more. Would you be so kind as to roll your resolve and your composure? You only need one success, however, being ridden as you are by your beast, you must have from drinking far more than you should. Oh.
This is interesting.
Oh, dearie. You know those nights when you have had far too much to drink? You know that you should not have one more, yet you need to finish that bottle. And not the bottle of beer, but the bottle behind the bar that the bartender has carefully and focusedly managed to replenish from their stock in the back room. That's where you are as you take him in your arms and drink down the excess. And while you have enough control over yourself to not end this person's being, you drag out the feeding far too long. While you're not drinking enough to cause any severe or significant blood loss, you are loath to let him. And so you're slowly lapping just a hint and a taste, allowing it to coat your tongue before slowly swallowing, protracting this moment as long as you possibly can. And your beast has you. And just as you have it, it's like holding on to a tiger, not by the tail, but with both hands, keeping the jaws open. You know if you let go, the beast will consume you. But if you hold on, there's a very good chance the beast will consume you, dancing on that razor's edge. And as you lap. Dizzy, would you be so kind as to roll your resolve and composure? Because at a hunger of 3, with the scent of blood flowing so freely through the moment, being as empowered as you are and as in control you are, there's a chance that, unbeknownst to your control, your beast will escape its yard. Hestia, I need you to roll while all of this is happening, your wits plus insight There's so much stimulus and so many things happening all around you at once with these lives literally in the palm of your hand. It would be far easier to kill them than to do anything else in the world right now. They are clearly out of it. They are clearly at your beck and call and completely at your disposal. And as Dizzy manages to not allow her beast to slip from beneath her grip, and you keep an eye on everything, you realize just where Lucio is, both of you, as you glance around the room, keeping them entertained, dancing and talking, which is not really a conversation at this point, but the idea of it is keeping them calm and sedate. You realize where Lucio is. He's dancing on that precipice. He is sitting at that razor's edge where too much control is like having not enough. You know that just like magic, the more you hold it, the less you have. And that's where he is as he laps at this gentleman's gaping, freely flowing wound. And with as much alcohol that they've imbibed this evening, that wound will probably not stop without help.
Being the shorter person, I know I can wedge myself between Lucio's body and the guys. And I work my way up between them and kind of slide my arm until they have to part and kind of push them away and look him in the eyes.
The man or Lucio?
Lucio.
So as soon as he catches eyes with Hestia, that's when he finally snaps to and realizes what he's doing, and he'll try and pull away and lick the wound closed.
Oh, easy enough, though you are loath to do so. Your will is stronger than you often give yourself credit for, but in this moment, that iron will, that drive towards what is left of goodness in you, manages to save yet another member of this group of Glory Days seekers.
And that should have brought him back down to 100, right?
Yes.
Dizzy just looks over at Hestia with kind of a questioning gaze to make sure everything's all right over there.
She gives Dizzy a very slow nod, a yes, and says, "Somebody's had a little too much party. I think it's time for you to go to your room, sir." And I give Lucio a very delicate but purposeful shove towards the door.
I'm inclined to agree.
You are, in fact, inclined to agree by being way too inebriated all too early during the party. You're supposed to be able to last all night, and somehow in the first hour you have drunken far more than your fill. You are unwillingly staggering. It's not a huge stagger, it's not a stumble. You are clearly able to make your way, but this is the first time that you have been inebriated since your death. And not drunk on blood, not drunk on the ecstasy that comes from feeding. Literally in this moment, the amount of alcohol in their systems, with as much as you've drunken, and it being your liquor of choice, you have a few moments of actual earned inebriation. And Hestia and Diz, while Diz, you were far enough away, but you've been close enough to Lucio to realize that he did the impossible. There's no way that anyone who was as grievously injured as he was when you all arrived back here should be as whole as he is, as he gently staggers out of the morgue. There's no other person who has suffered as deeply as that who could leave in that semblance of relative health.
I am well aware, having survived the whole Hestia burnt to a crisp thing and having to very slowly heal myself back to whole. I remember. Zing.
I just kind of nod as I watch him go.
And as Lucio makes his way up the four and a half flights of stairs back to the third floor to his suite of rooms, we all will take a quick pause back here at 55 after.
Present.
Here.
All right. So, without beating the dead horse of metaphors, the evening has not quite worked out the way that it was originally planned. The idea for the evening had been to follow through with the plans laid and get the information and get it back to the prince and take your rewards and ride off into the sunset. Where it stands now, you've watched Lucio go through several different permutations of Kindred Society as a whole. You have managed in a very few short moments to risk and save and risk again for the reward that he has pulled off something seen any other kindred do. You all were successful in obtaining the information as requested from Prince and completing the task with all due aplomb. You have stood down a very strong member of the Anarchs who had come with all evil intentions. You all have escaped with your lives, and you've all managed to provide 8 or so humans with memories that they will carry with them into the future, as if this was, in fact, the best night of their lives. So with all the things that you've managed over the course of the evening, how are the members ending their evening?
Well, I'll get my sip to bring my hunger down some, since I gave some to Lucio, and then I will try to confer with Hestia about exactly how we're going to move these guys out of here and where we're going to leave them.
Going along with that, I'm going to procure Alex some blood to help him heal and put it to the side, seeing as how there were a couple guys that were untouched, I guess you could say. And maybe even just to make sure that I hit them all, put away some blood for myself later. Thinking ahead, you know how that goes. But then I will use, was it Cloud Memory? Oh, Forgetful Mind, sorry. Forgetful Mind. And, of course, Alter. Pretty much they're already thinking that they're at a club, but we're going to figure out the best spot to leave them in that would be likely to have been walking distance of a club. And,
Okay.
You know, make sure that they remember this night as the most ultimate epic night ever. And then just, you know, use one of their phones to like call them an Uber or something. And then leave.
Okay. And Lucio, you have not had the taste or a taste in forever. While you have had the opportunity to imbibe, it has been TV static flavored water since your death. How does Lucio die for the day? How does he end?
He's thinking long and hard about what he talked about with Critias and how he'd resolved to change the way he approached feeding and essentially approached being a vampire in general. This was almost exactly what he feared would happen if he finally gave in, that he would lose control and nearly kill or overindulge. That being said, his coterie prevented him from taking a life, and with that in mind, he's thinking about perhaps this isn't as bad as he thought previously.
That's a lot. So even in a moment of success from the chaos and violence that hound the steps of the shelter coterie, even in success, they have had the luck and the kiss of fate to do the impossible. This moment, the shared instance of unbeknownst to Hestia and Dizzy, Lucio's first real feeding, you all have managed yet again to beat the odds, to survive and continue despite the many odds stacked against you all. This was in another timeline, in another moment, a slaughter. Was in another instance, was a massacre, a death scene, the ending of several lives and severing of several families. Yet you've all managed to belay that order, have chosen your own fate, your own path forward. In working together, in accomplishing and tackling this as a team, as a familia, as a family, you all have won. And so, without celebrating prematurely, as the men are left a half a block, the Ubers on their way, several that for and to you all in the night with a very much earned sense of success. The very much earned sly smile of did something yet again that you shouldn't be able to. And as always, in situations, victory very much is a reality. The other shoe falls, and that other shoe being upon rising for the evening. No rose needed because you guys fed right before dying for the day and got a chance to get away from it all and keep the beast on the back burner. Say that the rouse rose automatically successful due to just how you all ended the night, just how you all died for the day. The other shoe being a call, Damien. And it is clear that he is not calling in his role as simply your immediate up the line superior. He is calling as a representative princess, much like you all are in your day jobs at being kindred. This seems far official, and the request is for you at the cultural center. So in alphabetical order, how do you guys go about it? Getting ready for the evening, with that call having been placed, and that text having been sent.
Dizzy will get up and make herself as presentable as she can, put on some fresh clothes and whatnot. As an aside, where did Vivi go? Did she go home or did she stay the day?
She actually stayed the day. She worked in the commissary with Amalia, helped get some food out, double checked on you, disappearing for a couple hours to be chewed out by Amalia, like feeding lunch. Well, breakfast and late breakfast are the two largest meals we serve. If you're gonna help, you're gonna fucking help. Now get back over there and pass that up. She fell in line. Amalia is a fairly tough old bird. Even beaten half to death is no space at all for her.
Randomly out of that question, since Amalia is on the mend and kind of back to healing, how is Darius doing? Is he able to return to work yet in light duty, or is he still not
No, done it.
well enough?
Danelle is back in light duty and has insisted on taking the earlier evening shift, partially due to being on the mend and trying not to rely so heavily on the drugs that he was provided, because they really did give him the good stuff, the heavy duty, and it's very unfortunately addictive, the surcease of pain.
Okay, so we're not back at full tilt, but we're getting closer. Oh,
Yes.
thank goodness. Okay. So Hestia, last night before she went to sleep, made sure to drop the blood off with Alex, and spent the night in her lab instead of her rooms. She basically, until the very last minute, was checking her plants and doing some of the things that she had been putting off to give herself a sense of peace. When she wakes for the day, of course, seeing the message, it's like, fuck a duck. Here we go again. And then she goes and showers and puts on fresh clothes.
Okay. And Lucio, waking up with as close to a hangover as you possibly can without having the physiological effects of being dehydrated and having the alcohol work through your system. How does he prepare for that night? Receiving that call and text.
He is going to. Oh, he's at the Haven, so he doesn't have access to any other clothing. So he's just gonna try and make do with what he has, and send a message to Arsenio asking him where he is. In fact, he's also gonna tempt fate and try to heal one more wound now that it's a new evening.
All right, make it happen.
And I assume I have to roll the rouse check for the evening too, right?
No, just the mending rouse.
Oh wait, is this the same night?
Nope, next night. But due to how everyone ended the evening as satiated as possible and with the hanging over, you all received the benefit of waking and not needing a rouse room. Your beasts were not clawing at your innards. It was not chewing up your bowels. It was not beating down the door of your subconscious.
I'm just going to point out, I would think that as long as Lucio's known Hestia and he's been coming for her help with what he was, that he would leave clothes here. Not all his clothes, but he would still have clothes here.
Oh my god, did we find a reason to go to Target?
We might have.
Very much so. And your hunger is at 2.
Yes.
And your aggravated damage is 1 rank of aggravated damage.
Yes.
You look better. You feel better. You're a strong, healthy Lasombra man. So individually having received those text messages, what is the scoop? Where do you guys meet? Do you guys give each other space? Do you kind of avoid each other like coffee fiends in the morning pre-cup? Or do you gather around the watering hole, share stories of what you've dreamed? Or like thereof?
No, I'd go check on him. Obviously, Mama Hestia has to go check on the babies. So I'd go check on him and kind of meet everybody in the library so that we can come up with a game plan. And I realized the whole Target need a Target trip. So we planned that in our travels.
Okay.
Dizzy will just sit in whatever room we normally meet on, sitting on a table, kicking her legs around, waiting.
Okay. So, thought I had all I notes. Clearly wrong. Wait a second. Now,
Hestia said that she was checking on Lucio, correct?
yes.
Okay.
And Hestia has suggested for everyone to meet in the library. Dizzy's already there.
Then I'll definitely head there too with her. And I guess along the way, Lucio will ask her, so is that what it always like?
Kind of raises her brow. Sometimes, not always. I've had my moments of the beast clawing at the back of my throat and making horrible decisions. And I don't know if I told you this or not, but there was a while ago in the park, we all split up for the night to do different things. And I was walking through the park and 2 gang members jumped me. And boy, did they get a surprise. I just happened to be hungry. I came to and they were both near death. And I don't know how I managed to stop myself, but I did. And I called for help on one of their phones and left them there and ran. I assume that they made it. I hope that they made it, even though they're horrible scum. But I wonder sometimes, you know. And then there was another time with Dizzy. We went out hunting, and there was this guy in a bar, and he smelled so good. And I physically threw myself back and almost took the door off the stall because I almost killed him. So I have, again, as much as I try to have control, and I'm all about consent, you know, I want them to know what they are offering me and keeping me alive, less or more or less. But there are times when it gets away from you. You were very, very hurt last night. You were almost undead again or dead again. Whatever way you want to figure it out. You had your guts hanging out. That's not healthy.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree with you that it's not healthy. But, yeah, I told you once that I'd decided I wouldn't prey on another person, but... You good?
Back. Sorry, what was the last thing you heard?
The last thing I heard was you saying that's not healthy about Lucio's entrails being strewn out.
Okay, that's not healthy for anybody, so it's understandable that there might have been a little bit of a slip last night. Your body is going to want to take what it needs, which is why we were there, to make sure that you had a safety net and to keep the people that were somehow in our care from not making it home.
And I owe you both for that. Thank you. I know that if you weren't there, then I would have lost it. You once told me that if one slip were enough to make you fall, then we'd all have fallen a long time ago. I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like that. I had been so afraid of finally giving in. I think maybe I was doing even more damage to myself than if I had just accepted what I was and learned to deal with it in a healthy manner.
Have you ever heard of a thing called self-fulfilling prophecy?
Yes.
You pull at the sweater string enough, it's going to unravel it. So leave the sweater string alone if you find one, basically.
Good point.
Does he, having overheard the conversation, is there anything with the numerous experiences on the road that you survived?
She blows a bubble and says, so look, it's kind of like this. You're a boy, so you probably didn't have to grow up with body issues and all that shit. But it's like a cookie. You know, if you eat fake cookies, it's not the same as eating a cookie. And if you deny yourself the cookie, eventually you're going to be in tears at 3 a.m. watching Jerry Springer reruns and you've smashed a whole bag of cookies. You need to eat the cookie once in a while. You can't always say no to the cookie because then you eat all the cookies. Do you get that?
You know, you're a lot wiser than I give you credit for. Also, thank you last night for, how shall I put it, the donation.
Hey, I just want to point out that I would not have done that if I didn't feel like I had to. I think that you would rather deal with feeling a little more predisposed towards me for a while than have killed a whole room full of people.
You know, I definitely agree with you on that. Although maybe that's just me being more predisposed to you that's making me agree with that. I don't know.
I mean, that is possible.
Plus, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of hot.
I mean, I didn't want to say it out loud, but...
Well, I mean, that aside. Plus, that thing I did last night, like, I can't do that often. It draws attention. So, like, when you're on the road, it's not a big deal. Tomorrow night, we're 50 miles away. Nobody remembers. But, so that's like an emergency-only thing. But it's a thing I can do. I can bring us food when we need it.
Yes. Thank you. If you need anything from me, just let me know. I know I've offered. in the past, but I'm serious. I really, really owe you.
I think we kind of all owe each other at this point.
I guess that's what it means to be part of a coterie.
Indeed, plus some. So as you all come to a small break in the natural flow of the conversation, the weight of today lays before you all. You've been summoned. There's no other way to phrase it and properly account for all that entails. You've been summoned by Damien at the behest of to arrive at the cultural center. Those involved with the politics of the soup city itself realize that the culture center, while Herald watching is usually things are decided, judgments are handed down, the cultural center is that roughly approximate pub. It is where non-official official business is handled, where you can rub elbows with the high muckety mucks without it being too déclassé for them to have an actual conversation. It's the most casual of standing Elysian city. Special case Elysian parties and such, and the odd Toreador salon do appear, but of the standing year-round, constantly held Elysiums, Culture Center at play have a beer with somebody who makes decisions for entire wards or what have you.
On the way over, before we get in there, she will look at everyone and go, "Oh, and that thing I did to kind of end the fight, let's gloss over that part, because that's a threatening thing that I can do. Let's keep that like the ace up my sleeve sort of thing."
Oh no, I didn't tell Damien exactly how things ended. I said we didn't hurt the guy enough to really make too much of a difference, and he ran off. I didn't say anything about all of what happened before then, because I kind of figured that was the case. Like most things, some things are better left unsaid. So, yeah, no worries. I will keep your secret.
Sweet. And don't tell them I'm not stupid either.
So instead of hopping on like most people do and hopping on Lakeshore Drive, immediately taking Morse over to Sheridan, you all take Ashland down and around using the back streets with Arsenio driving the boat that is the ever-present Caddy. Stopping at the target just off just south of Lawrence, right before you get to Montrose. Target there, it is without a shadow of a doubt the most trailer park ghetto Target you have ever been in. Everyone jokes about the difference between Target and the Walmart customer. Things that you see in Walmart versus things you see in Target. This Target is the antithesis to what most people consider Target. The team members are wearing a veritable hodgepodge of different shades of red. It is one of the few Targets that is in fact open 24 hours, and you can tell by the fact that there are occasionally flyers laying on the floor in various aisles, and typically care get paid enough to pick up behind fuckers. Yet they're well stocked. There are huge screen TVs. All of the clothing racks are stocked with several different seasons of fashion. The mannequins inside are from various different body types, and the Starbucks is still open.
Heskia's eyes are huge, like saucers. Like she walked onto like a whole different planet or something, because this is like new for her. She like it's like watching people walk past, you can tell she's like culture shocked. I mean, she's been some sketchy places and done some sketchy things, but this is like, wow.
Dizzy, the thing that stands out about this particular, you've been in 24-hour convenience markets like this, the veritable extremes of society congregate. And while that is a bit closer to the farther extreme end in terms of the people that are still filling the place, what stands out more is that fact that here on Sunnyside, you know that this uptown neighborhood was the first neighborhood Mama Dizzy lived in coming to Chicago. These people here may have been her neighbors, their young nephews, cousins, their children, slightly. And Lucio, having grown up not far from here, not far from the Haven, you realize why that the more things change, the more they stay the same. You've always had a certain connotation when uptown is mentioned, even with all of the gentrification, all of the Aldis and CVS's and Hut Expresses being put in, and then the elite little smokers lounge, the White Rabbit down the street, and Tattoo Factory, as well as, Nigerian Kitchen and Metro and all of those things that are just money neighborhood. There's still that connotation uptown used to be. It was the place where sex was cheap and lives were cheaper. It was very much the victim, the drug epidemic that reached into the American suburb. It was the north side equivalent, in fact, similarly, the ghetto, put it. Yet now, with its glitz and glam and its gentrified facades firmly in place, having been for the last, 9-10 years, this is very much harkening back to good old days, bad old being seen in uptown or telling when you lived it into living in not a double wide, a actual camper.
Right, we should probably make this trip quick.
And they've handled the congestion problem fairly efficiently. The parking actually underground is actually underneath its target itself, so you are able to let out by Arsenio directly at the front door via the parking structure, and he just circles. But it's still one of those situations. The drag and dross of humanity is on full display. So is there anything, any particular style Lucio is looking for? Or anyone else?
I don't suppose they have a good selection of suits, so business casual sounds good enough.
Easily done. Nice blue shirt, medium tan khakis, and strangely enough, they actually do blazers. So while it's not actually a single suit, and it is not tailored, but it is a suit that goes with overcoat fairly usually. Considerably more casual than I liked, but all in all, not horrible. It is Target, so you can almost, you can't find here, you can most efficiently find it at Walmart if you decide to find.
So Dusty is watching him pick out clothes and kind of giggling because she's getting this mental image of a collegiate a cappella group. So she's trying to give him like the clip-on bow ties to wear.
You can't go wrong with a tie.
A bow tie? You think I should be wearing a bow tie to this?
I mean, don't you want to look like your hero, the professor?
Lucio can't help but laugh a little bit. I don't think a bow tie goes well with this. But if you really want me to wear it, I'll wear it.
No, fine. And I just grab him like a regular pinstripe tie that'll go with the blazer. There, fine, okay. We should probably go though.
Guys, check it out. It's a t-shirt with Mr. Peanut on it. I'm buying it.
Yes, good choice.
Alright. So, clearly Dizzy is not an accountant. Dressed for success, you all arrive at the cult. All in all, your trip to Target lasts far shorter than it normally would have. With all of the options and opportunities to spree by or give in to Terry indulgences, you manage to pull things together fairly quickly. Make it to the as expected in such places, there are ways for the kindred to enter, and while they have later night groups, presentations, little art installations, and talks throughout the day as well as the early portion of the night, it's a little quiet, which gives the kindred of the city all the time in the world and the moments in the world themselves together, have meetings to fall into some of the side rooms. Otherwise, make themselves kind of a nuisance. Which is called no one likes the elite. No one likes, parties that are clearly happening that you're not invited to. And that's what happens when the kids create any larger gathering at the center. You all were not, in fact, expecting there to be as many members of the Imaging Council as there are. Normally, the government in places like this meet 2, 3, maybe 4 at once, but to have the entirety of the government as well as their security, their direct individual security agents, as well as the bulk of the hounds, it has taken on a decidedly less casual appearance. A few conversations and whispers and asides being as they are. Damien seems to be purposefully keeping his distance. But Juanica, however, is moving through the space like a man on a mission. He stops, he looks you guys over, and moves back to what he was doing, just clearly checking the perimeter security. Khalid and Annabelle engaging in conversation, and Dusabo and Erichto, while not officially part of the government, are there representing Chantry. And it takes a little bit of time as it gathers and mills. You see also, again, representing the Chantry. No Sun Cheng, no Dubiard, but those three moving as a triptych crowd. And when everyone begins taking their seat around the auditorium that is put to the side for the very complicated gathering, Seneschal calls the matter to order. Yes, I would like to thank everyone for being here. Have a fairly special moment that we need to discuss, and we would like everyone's attention, please. Mr., Mrs., ladies, lords, lieges of all kind, I present to you your Prince Jackson. As he does so, everyone stands in order. Jackson enters, slipping his phone inside his breast pocket. I know that this is not a normal or regular convocation. I want to thank you all for arriving so promptly. And he nods to you all, nods to Dan, addresses the other Privy Council, the Primogen of the government. I am, despite all reason to never be, am a kindred of my word. And for duties having gone above and beyond all due expectations, I would like to announce before you all here now that this coterie, the shelter for duties completed and jobs well done, have been granted a domain unto themselves. That domain, of course, being the Rogers Park area. Its borders, and when he nods towards his Seneschal, a projector screen silently rolls out to its full height. With a click of a switch, there is the image map of Chicago with the Rogers Park area highlight, its borders outlined, forest. This area here, unlike all of the other territory granted over the years, this area is inviolate and to be patrolled and protected by the shelter themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, kindred of all ages, I present to you all shelter. That he steps back and away, draws out his phone, and moves back through the door he entered into. There's a few looks from one to the other, and Dusabo stands, Erich, Sylvia stands, and they begin clapping, which is slowly joined by the others, and Annabelle, who it is clear would like to sneer or cast some other dismissive or derisive statement out, as typical merely clap along with everyone else for taking her almost X.
I lean very quietly over to Dizzy and whisper, is this the moment they turn on us and kill us now? I don't know what's gonna happen.
I bet it's painful to clap for a girl in a Mr. Peanut shirt.
I have to swallow the outright guffaw of laughter. laughter that starts, and I'm like practically choking on it, and like bite my fist.
And as the claps slow and finally die out, the round of clearly having made its way around, Dusaba makes his way towards you all. Staying in his shadow is Sylvia, with Aristo bringing up the rear. And it's clear that all eyes are in your general direction. They're very patently polite, but not true. Not trying to catch eye contact, but keeping aware as to what may be happening. Hestia, as a representative of the whole, I want to say I am glad that you represent us as well as you do. Karen was right about you. And he offers his hand.
There is a moment of internal panic. It's like, it's a trap. But smiling, I'm pleased to have proven myself worthy of such high praise, and I am glad to see you. And then shake his hand.
And much like a team at the end of a game, and as a show of good sportsman-like behavior, he offers his hand to Dizzy and then to Lucio, and following immediately behind him is Sylvia. She stops in front of Hestia. The silence is thick enough to cut with, I suppose. Congratulations. Your final Tremere spot. I can't do Sabo you mostly home so that we discuss our step. And she actually bats her eyes behind, slightly overly large class at you. She doesn't bother extending her hand. She instead bows and inclines her head. Wouldn't want to sully act of distrust. Congratulations, Hestia. And she moves down the line, offering her hand to Dizzy. And then to Lucio, extending an offer of shake. A toast to what?
Dizzy will do fist bumps, but she's not shaking anybody's hand.
Lucio will hesitantly shake the hand. Admittedly, he hasn't actually had the interactions with her that Hestia has.
No, he hasn't. And there is a mysterious absence in the government. A strange disappearance of their Malkavian primogen, but they're making do without him and his visions. All the same, as Aristo finally makes her way through and then the others follow in behind, there's a glaring difference because on Rosa Hernandez's hip, pretty much acting in a state of either a boyfriend or a major domo, a combination of the two, is Cameron. He offers his hand and she offers her. Says, I knew you guys would do really well. I didn't want to go back. I hope that we can, in the course of things, find our way forward together.
I think I need a composure roll because this is Sylvia and now Cameron. I think.
Okay, so what are you trying to keep from being visible?
The little tiny veins in her forehead from throbbing as she's clenching and unclenching her fists because she wants to grab somebody by the throat and squeeze.
I see. Well, in that case, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll and your performance?
You know, just to make things worse, and Dizzy's don't give a shit attitude, she will lean over as Sylvia goes by to Hestia and say, wasn't that the Coos that tried to kill you?
What are the odds that anyone had their hide and seek?
0 for Lucio right now.
Oh, wow. As much as Hestia would like to leap over the imaginary death between herself and those who are congratulating her, she manages to keep a not complete blank face, but it is not a sneering reminder of just how much she is loath to be near, in, and around congratulating her for her successes, her recognition from the prince himself. And Dizzy whispering in your ear in Hesh's ear, reminding her very much of the fact that it would be far better for to do far worse to Sylvia, at least emotionally. And the congratulations go on for a little bit as others get in line behind Aristotle and offers their congratulations. Some mentioning, oh, with you being granted such a very large territory, you probably would to maintain his borders by yourself. I'd more than be happy to. Hint, hint, wink, wink.
Basically, the people that have most injured her psyche have stepped out of line. Everybody else is just kind of platitudes. Thank you so much. I'll think on that sort of situation. She goes into autopilot because when she was living, doing what do you call it, where you lectures and things like that, she autopilot, people would come past her and thank her for the lessons, and she was just like shaking hands, and it's very non-dominant brain activity for her, basically.
Sounds about right, especially with all the faculty gathering, all of the parties necessary to get secure funding, and blase Skippy was just basically going to go ahead and your wits and stealth for me while this is all happening. And Dizzy, much the same, you never had to put up with such banal, empty, avaricious moments of self-congratulation. These people are attempting to kiss your ass politely in public while launching their wish and need and clearly attempting to stage you on one side or the other where they can find the better.
Dizzy will make a big show of chewing the gum she's chewing and blowing lots of bubbles because she knows that's a thing they can't do.
It is most assuredly. You get a few slightly widened eyes and okay. As they stumble a bit over their words, make their way away and down the line, stating how much they look forward to seeing you in action. Susses up ears and woo. And it's clear that in the moment that you guys are, stage front and center, and part of Dizzy, because of the very real experiences, feels as if she's a creature of dark being dragged into the light. There's a certain feeling of exposure that she has not grown accustomed to and never had to deal with as people introduce themselves and give congratulations. And Lucio, while that feeling isn't specifically something that's solely Dizzy's purview, it's mirror images bounding around the insides of your head that introduce themselves and offer congratulations. And technically, for lack of a better word, when you fully into the upper echelons of Kindred Society here in Chicago, you all are now noticed. You all are now on the map. You guys are now something as a whole, a gestalt form to be recognized, to be wary of, and to keep it.
In the back of Lucio's mind, part of him is thinking that in some ways we've increased our standing and potentially our bargaining posture in our upcoming negotiations. But at the same time, we've likely painted a larger target on our backs. And specifically, Critias's advice about finding a seemingly insurmountable foe and crushing them completely comes back, and he wonders if someone is going to try and essentially use them as that kind of example.
And as you're thinking that, you realize that Jonathan Myers is saying done more than I expected. I'm happy for you. I really am.
Oh, Myers is here?
Yes.
He gets like the only first and probably actual genuine smile of the night.
I can't say how happy I am that you guys have come to good attention. Not just bad. It means a lot. And as he says this, Hestia realizes that his left hand and hers had most recently been in contact with one another. She was mostly on autopilot, but when she saw his face, she lit up, and she realized that there is a folded square of vellum in her hand. And he bids his adieu, leaves as the line continued. The congratulations and the thanks and the, oh my God, it's so great to see some of us rise to power. Like, I was so worried. I was just worried. You know, it's not often you see us young people rise to power. I was so hoping that Jackson would be different than all the others. But anyway, you guys know this. I'm so happy for you all. Of the same continues for roughly an hour or so, and then people break off to their separate couplings and thruples and several other different group sizes as they talk to each other and make their way through the various exhibits of the center.
Hey, you guys realize that they just put the condoms and the whipped cream right on the table, but they're insisting that we're just watching Netflix, right?
Yeah, I know. This is the only thing that I was not looking forward to of this. The need to curtsy and smile and play my role.
I think I've decided that I no longer wish to be an attention whore.
But isn't that, like, how you get food?
Well, yeah, but I mean...
Do I see the end of the line yet? Is it almost over?
It most assuredly is, and you guys are left to your own devices. See everyone breaking apart and moving into small intimate groups to talk and make their way through the upper floors of the culture center. The real weight of it all kind of settles in as you are left to your own devices. And you realize that Damien, having kept his distance, wasn't about a dislike for what was to come specifically, but more of a dislike of how he felt about the circumstance. While everyone else got in line and, you know, gave their fake congratulations and their fake adulation, he kept to checking security. He and Juanica moving and around the place. You caught a couple of Tyrus from the pack and Dread and a few others also helping add to the security, with it seeming that your success in properly motivating Detective Walter to not follow and keep tabs has in fact the hounds and Damien the sheriff in position of continued operation. Your success at this below the table operation granting you above the table prestige.
In other words, that small victory that he was looking for before the Archons took over.
Yeah.
We did it.
And basking in the very real attention and fake praise, we leave in preparation for what lays ahead for them, which are several increased, exponentially more dangerous levels of attention and focus. I want to thank you all. It's been a great session, and I look forward to what led next. Good night, everybody.
Night.
Good night, everyone.
Night.